Hey Reject Nation, it's Greg Alba here.
And I'm John Humphrey.
We are going to be watching a video that was sent over to us called The Psychology of the Joker, the Dark Knight edition of the Joker, hence the Dark Knight shirt. And funny that we got this request to us because we have a new sponsor today who I am so grateful to be sponsored with right now.
Likewise.
Today's sponsor is BetterHelp.com, and we hope to be having an ongoing partnership with them because this is the exact kind of brand we would want sponsoring the channel. If you guys are loyal followers of this channel, you would know that John and I both go to therapy. and
we're not afraid to get candid and open sometimes.
Especially if you've seen our film therapy segment that we recently posted here on the channel. He's been going for many years. I've been going for several years. And around the time I started going to therapy, I was diagnosed with ADHD, type 2 bipolar, and PTSD. I was on many medications for years whilst going to therapy, and I eventually was able to get off all my meds through meditation, exercise, and it all started with therapy. And it's funny that we live in LA where therapy doesn't seem to have as much of a stigma seeking to improve your mental health. But I know in other parts of the world, other parts of the US even, there's still a stigma surrounding bettering your mental health. And we always encourage people to go out there and do what you can to go get some therapy because I'm telling you guys, it's life-changing. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for therapy. And the thing though is that sometimes it can be challenging to make the time to go to therapy or even have the money to afford therapy sessions and whatnot. So BetterHelp.com is the leading provider of online therapy. I have a friend who actually attends online therapy and they've experienced a lot of benefits from it as well. So we're more than happy to shout these guys out in this video.
Essentially what happens when you sign up on the site, you'll take a little questionnaire that basically gives them a sense for your needs, and then within about a 24-hour window, BetterHelp.com will pair you with a counselor qualified to help you out with those needs, and you can meet with your counselor via phone call, video chat, messaging, live text chat, and also if you need financial aid, there are options for you as well.
Yeah, we looked into what the average prices are, and they're pretty affordable, definitely cheaper than what I currently spend to go to therapy myself. Yeah. There's several reasons why I think online therapy is even a great start if you're planning on eventually going to therapy in person, because it can you don't
it can be scary opening up to somebody a few feet away from you.
Yeah, so you could do it, video chat, phone, messaging, live text chat. They have almost 2,000 therapists. You guys might have heard of them already from people like Philip DeFranco, Wisecrack. A lot of people talk about them because they are truly a great company, and we're so happy that they're willing to sponsor this video. You can go click on the link in the description box if taking some therapy online is something you're currently interested in. So go check it out, link in the description box. And we're going to talk about the psychology of the Joker today.
Someone who could definitely use some
online therapy. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Lust, greed, revenge, and a hunger for attention are all compulsions that can lead a human being into a life of crime. But the dark
BetterHelp.com
enemy is perhaps the most difficult to fathom.
Armed robbery, double homicide. Got a taste for the theatrical like you.
And to unlock his secrets requires a journey into the ultimate heart of darkness.
Yeah, but he's so cool.
Cops and lawyers wouldn't dare cross any of you. I mean, what happened?
The Batman.
So what are you proposing?
It's simple. Kill the Batman.
I think that was an alternate take in the trailer.
Of all the evildoers in Batman's universe, none is more explosive or unpredictable than the homicidal nemesis known simply as the Joker.
He represents a kind of chaos, of meaninglessness, of randomness, the idea of the character of the Joker, just the luck of the cards.
Here's my card.
Introduced
Alternate
by
take.
DC Comics in 1940, the Joker initially had no backstory. Over the years, several
way it
versions
should
of his
be.
history have been written, describing the character's maniacal metamorphosis.
Yes.
One involves a tragedy, in which the Joker fell into a vat of chemicals and became disfigured as a result. The accident
Joaquin
not only
Phoenix.
changed his appearance, but also twisted his mind.
You don't know what makes him tick. Maybe he won't kill you. Maybe he'll hand you $1,000 bill. He'll probably kill you. But you can't be sure. So in that way, he's a perfect villain for Batman.
Most characters can justify the terrible things they do as I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this because the world hates me, I'm doing this because pick an answer. The Joker does it, goes, nothing is a squirrel, and I'm proud of that.
Some men aren't looking for anything logical. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with.
Evening, Commissioner.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
I'm so excited to watch this again on IMAX. I'm so excited.
Smile on that face.
Most criminals are motivated by desire to gain greater wealth or gain greater power.
I have kids to feed. Well, you don't like falafel?
Or to exact some form of revenge. There's a clear motivation which is understandable for what's prompting their behavior. In the case of somebody who's mentally ill, you can't necessarily predict what they're going to do because their motivations are not the normal ones.
No.
For example, an individual such as John Hinckley, who believed, amidst his psychosis and narcissism, that if he were to assassinate the President of the United States, Jodie Foster would fall in love with him. You see quickly where the logic in that line of thought falls.
Does not work.
Why so serious?
And the Joker has an agenda of chaos. He's a unique villain in that he is not even necessarily after money or power or any of those traditional things. So that's really the hardest kind of evil to fight because you can't bargain with it.
Well, hello, beautiful.
In the Dark Knight, the battle between Batman and the Joker is taken to the ultimate level.
A little fighting here.
I like that.
You're gonna love me.
I always felt, as Batman, that there was a great curiosity about this Joker because he hadn't come across anybody like him before. This is another character like himself who will not compromise whatsoever.
I think the Joker is the logical response to a character like Batman.
Ooh, you want to play? Come on.
Partly because Batman, having raised this extremity of behavior in Gotham, he's putting on a mask, tapping into people's fears, and there's all of the technology he employs. He's distinguishing himself to fight crime.
Oh, I'm so excited again.
That shot alone,
You've changed things forever.
And why do you want to kill me?
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? No, you complete me.
They are
It's like the
dark
best line, Abe.
reflections of each other. They're both men who operate outside of normal social norms. They're both highly talented, highly gifted at what they do.
Yeah.
So they have a lot in common.
Okay.
Every yin has a yang, every positive has a negative. Batman is sane and logical, uses his mind to solve problems and solve crimes, and the Joker is a complete raving lunatic.
Batman says philosophically, we can acknowledge an imperfect world. We can acknowledge that we have to step outside of social norms, but that doesn't make the social norms meaningless. The Joker says the presence of random injustice means that there is no justice. The fact that innocence can be destroyed.
I like that.
So your life is a joke. Now, when someone says your life is a joke, that's a challenge. It's not just a physical challenge. It's a moral challenge. It's an intellectual challenge. And Batman can't let that go. Because the Joker isn't just threatening him physically. He's threatening the premise of Batman's existence. That's why it's such an epic discussion that they're having. And of course, it's played out physically, it's played out in fights and punches and gunshots.
I think Batman and Joker need to have a debate.
Ultimately,
Town
it's a
hall.
philosophical conflict, and not one that's easily resolved.
The Joker wants to see that everybody has a price, that nobody is pure, and that even Batman can be bought or can be leveraged in such a way that he would compromise his principles.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Heath was somebody I'd met with over the years for different roles. Indeed, I'd met him for Batman at the same time as I met, every actor in town.
Oh,
He explained
neat.
why he didn't want to do something like that. And he was very polite about it, but very clear. And so I was sort of surprised to get the call, because it really more came from his end, about wanting to get involved, wanting to talk to me about what we would be doing. I sat down with him for a couple of hours. There was nothing for him to read, but we saw absolutely eye to eye on the bigger picture idea of who this guy was going to be. We talked about common reference points. We talked about Malcolm McDowell's performance of Clockwork Orange in the film. We talked about Clockwork Orange, the book, and who Alex is in the book is kind of different. We looked at paintings by Francis Bacon for visual reference. We looked at all kinds of things, talked about all kinds of different philosophical ideas behind the Joker, anarchy and chaos. And
I've never seen behind the scenes footage.
Neither.
That big.
I'll settle for a loved one.
So after that first meeting, it was clear to me that it was going to be an incredibly exciting road to go down.
You were in the media, my father. I hated my father.
So yeah, I went through the process of deal making and announcing and everything. And I think the whole world turned around and said, "What do you do?" Heath Ledger, Joker. It didn't make any sense to people at all. We didn't want to have that moment on Heath where we just sort of, made him dress up as the Joker and suddenly he's the Joker. That would have felt very artificial. So he developed the look of the character with Lindy Hemming, the costume designer, with John Caglione, the makeup, and myself over a long period of time. So we would experiment with pieces of it. What would the shoes be? I think the shoes were actually the first thing that Lindy found that Heath was like, no, those are exactly the right shoes.
This wall is the sort of
cool.
conglomeration of all the images.
Wow.
They're Terrence Stamp, Bill Wyman, Iggy Pop, Adam Ant, Keith Richards. This is a sort of, like an amalgam of shirt fabrics and ties. Everything with a little bit of edge and a bit of jagginess. And these are his colour, different colours, kind of safely going towards a really black purple. And then thinking, no, we've got to do it. Come back here to the purple, And this is a panel of the final decide fabrics and colours.
One thing Heath wanted to do was to apply makeup himself. As an actor, saying, okay, this character would put his own makeup on, in real life. And so what would that look like if it just got the makeup?
Cool.
The thing that stuck from that is he always had makeup on his fingers and under his fingernails and everything, as he would have from putting it on just with his hands. During the hand makeup.
Dude, this is crazy.
We let him talk, we let him walk around, we didn't record any sound, but we let him inhabit the character and use it as a bit of a test bed. To just sort of do it in front of a few people and start to feel what that would be and move around. And we had some props there, we had different knives and things for him to pick up.
Holy shit.
Whoa, gosh.
It was a really amazing experience to be a part of, to see him developing something in that way.
Interesting.
Whoa.
Damn.
The video just end there?
Yeah, I guess that's it. That's the video.
Whoa. What a random abrupt ending that is.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting video in the way it was done, because the first half of it was about Batman versus Joker and what makes this rivalry so impactful
and so enduring.
Yeah.
Because the Joker is like one of the biggest villain characters of all time, at least in terms of our current consciousness.
They're deconstructing what the rivalry means, because we've always loved the rivalry. But really, I like how they were breaking it down, that this is more of a philosophical battle amongst anything else. You made a joke about just watching them like they need to have a debate.
I think Batman and Joker need to have a debate.
But my favorite scene in The Dark Knight is when they're debating.
Talking back and forth.
When they're in the interrogation room. It's such a riveting scene. I forget what channel did this. I think it's a channel, but they basically did, script to scene, so they have the script playing on the side while you're watching the scene play out. And it's amazing watching Heath Ledger own those lines to the point where it sounds like these are improvised.
Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
Yeah. You're like, oh, these are all scripted. It just sounds like he's sort of coming up with this on the spot.
Yeah, totally, man.
And I like how the last half of this video was pretty much some behind the scenes process of Heath Ledger and what he did to embody the Joker. Like, I've never seen a behind the scenes anything of the Joker. I kind of like never bothered to look it up, honestly.
I've seen that one scene where the take continues after the bus rolls away from the hospital a little bit, but other than that,
I've seen like takes, but I haven't seen
additional.
Shit, that's right. He's just acting. He's being directed and everything. Just a little moment when it's like the green screen in the background and he's just having a conversation with Nolan. Like, you can't hear it, but watching him not be in character, you could tell he's just Heath Ledger at that moment having a discussion with him about what they should do in the scene.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, that's so crazy.
Yeah, right.
He did that. It's like, you know that happened, but watching it, it's like, oh my god.
That's a little historic nugget right there. And I do appreciate the two halves of this video, and especially going into the psychology kind of on two levels, like the actor approaching the character and then actually getting really involved with the costuming and the makeup too. Because this is not something every actor does or is even expected to do. We give Heath Ledger a lot of credit for that performance, and I think he does deserve it. Because, you know, there's the stuff that's on the page, there's the stuff that Nolan came up with and all, but you really get the sense that he was heavily involved with making this version of the Joker be alive.
He practically created the design himself.
Yeah.
It's crazy seeing like the different variations they could have had, which one they could have gone with, and to hear how he put the makeup on himself. And I've never noticed the nugget they're talking about of having makeup on his fingers. We're gonna go watch it again on IMAX.
Yeah, you're gonna pay attention.
They're gonna re-release. I'm like, I'm gonna look at his fingers the whole time.
He's never got those gloves off.
Yeah, we're like, ooh, when he's in the interrogation room, I'm gonna be looking at his hands now, going, is there makeup on his fingertips? Yeah. I'm gonna just look out for those kind of details. And to know how involved he was with the costume design and the makeup design and the different knives too. Every little detail was so important. And I wasn't expecting any of this behind the scenes stuff of Heath Ledger going in and becoming the Joker, because I couldn't find any interviews on what he wanted to ever do. It's the only thing I've ever looked up. He was pretty close to the chest on this one.
I'm playing this one pretty close to the chest.
I feel like the second half of this video is maybe more substantial than the first half, but I do just appreciate the archetypes of the Joker and Batman and what the Joker represents in a philosophical form, because like so many villains have motivations that you can pick apart, and the Joker does seem like one of a few that really is just a philosophical question mark. There's nothing you can do to get through to this, and what do you do in the face of that? Is true justice that works 100% of the time even possible with a person or a character like that?
I like how they're bringing up the question of mental illness. BetterHelp.com. They're bringing up the question of mental illness because the portrayals of the Joker, I think, if done correctly, whether it be from Mark Hamill or reading a comic book like The Killing Joke or watching Heath Ledger, you do wonder, is he really mentally ill? You know?
Or is he just so down this particular philosophical rabbit hole that he doesn't really care about much else?
Yeah, exactly. Because he seems to understand his perspective and his point of view. Like
he seems very intelligent.
They were bringing up the differences of a guy who would shoot Reagan to get Jodie Foster's love, as opposed to like the Joker, who seems to know why he does what he does.
And what the people around him will probably do in response.
And he can predict the outcome and the responses of a normal person, you know, and then so it makes you wonder, is he really mentally ill?
And in The Dark Knight, there's even that moment where he's in with the police in the procession, and you can tell, at least for a little while, he can blend in if he has to. You know, he can mimic a regular person.
I mean, he's definitely a sociopath.
For sure. But, you know, mental illness is a broad spectrum.
Mental illness is a very different thing, you know?
Yeah, I don't think the Joker is a character you could necessarily sit down and go, oh no, that's what that character
I'm sure he has like a variation of mental illness for sure. There's no denying that. But what I'm saying is there seems to be like actual sound logic and reasoning behind what he's doing with how aware he is of everything. And usually with a case of mental illness so extreme, their awareness levels not quite up to par.
Yeah.
And going back to like the early rendition of the Joker, how they were talking about how there was no backstory, and then eventually backstory was introduced. It makes me wonder if the evolution of the Batman and the Joker kind of came naturally in terms of how well they complement each other. Because it sounds to me like the Joker was originally introduced as just a cool villain. Cool party! For Batman to go up against. Then eventually he became the perfect yin to his yang, you know? It just became that over
antithesis.
Time. Yeah, so I wonder how much of that was actually planned in the beginning or was thought out, or did that kind of just evolve over the course of time?
Like a catamaran.
Like, you know, this is perfect, actually. essentially.
I mean, it does make him super distinct in the landscape of colorful villains, for certain.
Yeah, I like how they were talking about how both Batman and Joker go outside of the social norms, except Batman has a respect and understanding for the norms being a good thing and being an okay thing.
That was a good
whereas the Joker, this is why he views everything as a joke.
Yeah, if there's need at all to operate outside the norm, what good is the norm anyway? Because you'll never have a 100% answer to all this. Yeah.
This was a really cool video. I thought it was going to be different. I thought it would be a video that's really just hardcore exploring in a therapeutic way who the Joker is, just a hardcore psychoanalysis of him. But the thing is, he's such a mystery, you can't quite label it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of generalizing you can do and a lot of good but broad points you can
there's a lot of theorizing,
Yeah, and again, with a character like this one in particular, I imagine it's a little hard to find a lot of real-world counterparts to this guy.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see something, too, of this variety that had actual experts and like little breakaway interviews and stuff like that. It's a bit different from the format that I'm used to on YouTube.
I mean, I like this because it's like Batman views Joker as if he's crazy, whereas in Joker's world, he views what he's doing as the thing that kind of should be done.
Yeah.
And so if anything, Joker might be viewing Batman as, you're crazy to think you can help the world. You're crazy to think that this world can get any better with you in it. And Batman's going, you're crazy because of how you're hurting the world, you know? It's a good philosophy battle.
To me, I feel like from the Joker's perspective anyway, it's almost like we're both crazy. I'm just pragmatic enough to accept my crazy and to accept the lack of order I see in this world. What's your excuse? Where's your line, buddy?
This video could not have fallen into our hands at the perfect time. Working with BetterHelp.com and then getting our tickets for IMAX today. We got it today. It just like works out perfectly, you know?
This just amped me up so much more.
I'm
Like
so
it's
excited.
been since those original IMAX screenings, I think, since I've seen it. And oh man.
Oh boy. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. You guys can subscribe to the Reject Nation. Click that notification bell. And hey, if online therapy is something you're interested in, BetterHelp.com, link in the description box.
Yeah, give them a look.